INFJs feel everything deeply because they live in a world where meaning is everything. This depth of feeling stems from the way they are wired. As introverted intuitives, INFJs constantly absorb subtleties and emotional frequencies that most people miss. Their dominant function, introverted intuition, connects patterns, metaphors, and insights beneath the surface of everyday interactions. Their auxiliary function, extrovert feeling, attunes them to the emotional states of others, often making them feel responsible for emotional harmony in any room they walk into. Even from a young age, INFJs sense when there's more happening than meets the eye. When someone says, "I'm fine," they hear the sadness beneath the words. When others celebrate, they pick up on who feels left out. They are emotional sponges, absorbing energy even when they don't want to. This sensitivity doesn't come from weakness. It's the result of a deep and finely tuned perception. Their inner world is rich and reflective. Every experience filters through a lens of, what does this mean? And how does this connect to who I am? This is why INFJs often feel like they're carrying invisible weight. They don't just experience their own emotions. They often internalize the emotions of everyone around them. And because they're also introspective and idealistic, they spend significant time processing, analyzing, and replaying emotional situations. They don't just move on from a conflict or a harsh word. They revisit it, dissect it, and wonder what it says about them or the other person. Their inner world is a constant dialogue between empathy and insight, between emotional experience and spiritual reflection. If you're an INFJ craving clarity and a deeper connection with your true self, ensure to grab our free INFJ Clarity Kit. Inside, you'll find guided journal prompts, a workbook, and everything you need to reconnect with your true self. It's free and made just for you. Click the first link in the description of this video to get yours and start your clarity journey today. INFJs also tend to form deep emotional attachments. They don't love casually. When they open their hearts, they do so fully, often to people who don't quite realize the gravity of what they're receiving. And when those relationships fracture, the pain runs deep, not just because of the loss, but because of the meaning the INFJ placed on that bond. They don't just lose a person. They lose a part of their inner vision for the future. This is also why betrayal cuts them more deeply than most. To an INFJ, trust isn't given lightly, so when it's broken, it shatters something sacred. Because of their emotional depth, INFJs are also prone to feeling things that haven't happened yet. They sense approaching conflict before it arrives. They anticipate emotional shifts. They feel the energy in a room long before anyone speaks. And while this can be a gift, it's also exhausting. Their nervous systems are often on high alert, tuned into frequencies that most people are oblivious to. It's not uncommon for INFJs to feel emotionally drained after social interactions, not because they don't love people, but because they absorb so much during every encounter. Another reason INFJs feel so deeply is because they seek purpose in everything. They are constantly in search of authenticity, real connection, honest conversations, meaningful experiences. Superficiality feels hollow to them. Pretending, small talk, or emotional games are not only uncomfortable, they're painful. INFJs long for depth, and when they don't find it, they feel isolated, as though they're moving through a world that speaks a language different from their own. That emotional isolation adds to their inner intensity, often leading to periods of withdrawal, melancholy, or quiet soul-searching. Yet despite this deep sensitivity, INFJs are resilient. Their emotional depth gives them compassion, creativity, and an intuitive wisdom that others are drawn to. They can walk beside people in their darkest moments and offer a sense of peace. They can write, create, and speak in ways that move others at the soul level. Their feelings may be intense, but they are also instructive. INFJs learn from what they feel. They grow from it. They allow it to shape their values, their purpose, and their understanding of humanity. What makes INFJs truly unique is that they don't fear emotional intensity. They embrace it. They may be overwhelmed at times. They may struggle with emotional burnout. But at the end of the day, they know that their depth is what allows them to love so fully, to create so beautifully, and to connect so meaningfully. Their feelings are not burdens. They are mirrors, guides, and gateways to truth. INFJs feel everything deeply because they are designed to move through life with open hearts, observant minds, and a desire to understand what lies beneath. This depth is both their challenge and their greatest gift. It sets them apart in a world that often fears emotion, but it also empowers them to live authentically and love profoundly. INFJs don't just have feelings, they live through them, breathe through them, and let them shape how they see the world. This profound emotional depth isn't always visible to others, because INFJs often keep their inner storms well hidden. Outwardly, they may seem calm, composed, even serene, but beneath that surface, their emotional landscape runs deep like an underground river, silent, powerful, and constant. One of the reasons INFJs feel so much is because they internalize meaning in every experience. A simple conversation, a quiet glance, a shift in someone's tone, these things don't pass unnoticed. They echo. They sit within the INFJ long after the moment has ended. INFJs naturally reflect, replaying interactions in their minds, searching for hidden truths, unspoken emotions, or patterns that reveal something deeper. This mental replay isn't obsessive. It's how they make sense of the world. It's how they connect dots that others might miss entirely. INFJs also feel deeply because they crave wholeness. They're not content with surface-level happiness or fleeting excitement. They want emotional alignment, truth that matches behavior, love that is consistent, words that are rooted in sincerity. When they sense emotional incongruence, even slightly, it unsettles them. This makes relationships both incredibly meaningful and incredibly fragile for INFJs. They open their hearts with care, and when they do, they want real connection, not performance. So when a relationship lacks authenticity, it doesn't just disappoint, it wounds them. The emotional world of an INFJ is also tied to their vision of how things could be. Their intuitive nature doesn't just help them understand the present. It allows them to imagine a more beautiful, connected, and emotionally aware future. When they see suffering, dishonesty, or conflict, it hurts not just because of what's happening, but because it clashes with the harmony they know is possible. Their idealism is not naive, it's deeply emotional. They believe in better, and when the world falls short of that vision, it stirs something profound in them. INFJs are not just emotional for emotion's sake. Their depth often translates into a strong sense of purpose. They want their lives to matter. They want their emotions to fuel something bigger than themselves, whether it's healing others, writing stories that awaken hearts, or simply being a safe space for someone in pain. There's also a quiet loneliness that often comes with feeling everything so deeply. INFJs can be surrounded by people, yet still feel emotionally alone. Not because they're misunderstood in a dramatic sense, but because they're attuned to such subtle inner shifts that few people can truly meet them at that depth. This doesn't make them bitter. It makes them even more self-reliant. It pushes them inward. It encourages them to seek out stillness, art, spirituality, and creativity as ways to process these emotions. Despite their sensitivity, INFJs are emotionally courageous. They don't run from pain. They allow it to shape them into more compassionate, more grounded, more spiritually mature individuals. This willingness to feel deeply, even when it hurts, is what gives INFJs their unmistakable presence. People are drawn to them not because they're loud, but because they carry something real, an emotional resonance that says, "I've been there. I understand. You're not alone." INFJs feel everything deeply because they are built to live life from the inside out. Their depth is not a flaw to fix or a burden to escape. It is a light, a compass, a calling. It's what allows them to move through the world not just as observers, but as healers, guides, and mirrors. They may feel the weight of the world on their shoulders, but they carry it with grace. Because for the INFJ, feeling deeply is not just about emotion. It's about truth. It's about meaning. And it's about love, the kind that transforms not just their own life, but the lives of everyone they quietly touch. INFJs are often described as emotional empaths, but that phrase barely scratches the surface of the richness, complexity, and depth with which they feel. Where others may feel and let go, INFJs feel, internalize, and connect their emotions to a greater web of meaning. To feel, for an INFJ, is to witness the soul, not just their own, but the souls of others too. This intensity doesn't come from being overly sensitive or dramatic. It comes from awareness. INFJs are hyper-aware of the emotional tones in their environment. They can walk into a room and immediately pick up on who is sad, who is pretending, who is angry but hiding it, who is seeking connection but too shy to speak. They don't just see people, they feel through them. They absorb the subtle, unsaid emotions most people overlook, and they carry them. This deep emotional processing gives INFJs a profound level of compassion and understanding. When they care with everything in them. They listen deeply. They notice the pauses between your words, the shifts in your energy, the tears you're not crying. And they carry that emotional story in their heart as if it were their own. But this also means they carry sorrow more than most. The pain of others isn't something they simply observe. It becomes something they hold. INFJs also feel everything deeply because they're constantly bridging the emotional and the intuitive. They feel something deeply and they instantly ask why. Not in a detached way, but in a soul-searching one. They want to understand where the emotion comes from, what memory or belief is attached to it, and how it connects to their larger purpose in life. They don't push feelings aside. For an INFJ, emotion is both signal and invitation, an insight into something sacred that needs to be uncovered. Even joy, for an INFJ, is rarely shallow. When they experience beauty, be it a piece of music, a line from a book, or a quiet sunrise, it doesn't just please them, it moves them. It stirs something ancient and familiar in their soul. They can cry at something small, not because they're sad, but because it reminded them of something pure, something lost, or something eternal. They are wired to feel the poetry of life, and in a world that often praises logic, control, and detachment, this way of being can feel like both a gift and a burden. INFJs also carry a sense of emotional memory. They don't easily forget how they felt in certain seasons of their lives. Even years later, they can recall not just what happened, but the exact emotional climate of that time. The colors, the sounds, the sense of longing or wonder or pain. These memories live inside them as living stories, not just flashbacks. And because they feel so much, their past is not something they visit lightly. It's something they revisit only when they're strong enough to go deep, retrieve what matters, and bring it into the light. INFJs feel everything deeply because they are not afraid of the inner world. They search for meaning in sorrow, beauty in stillness, and growth in pain. They don't numb themselves to protect their hearts. They strengthen their hearts to hold more. And though this depth may sometimes leave them tired, misunderstood, or overwhelmed, it is also the source of their rare and radiant light. The depth of an INFJ's emotion is like an ancient well, still on the surface, but stretching endlessly below. For them, feeling is not simply a response. It's a way of being. Emotions aren't things that happen to them. They're part of how they interpret, interact with, and understand existence. Every feeling is layered with meaning. Part of what makes this emotional experience so profound is that INFJs do not compartmentalize easily. When they feel with their whole being, mind, body, and spirit. A joyful moment doesn't just bring a smile. It opens a window to gratitude, to awe, to a soul-level connection with life. Likewise, a moment of grief doesn't just cause sadness. It touches something deep inside that resonates with past wounds, existential questions, and even collective sorrow. INFJs don't simply feel what is in front of them. They feel the stories behind it, the possibilities around it, and the emotions the other person can't even name. This emotional expansiveness means that INFJs often experience the world in technicolor, while others see in black and white. They are moved by things that seem invisible to others. A child's quiet glance, the shape of the clouds before a storm, the sound of someone's voice when they're holding back tears. Their sensitivity allows them to notice these moments, but their depth is what allows them to feel them so completely. These are not passing observations. They become emotional imprints, held, revisited, reflected upon. What makes this even more intense is that INFJs are often emotionally attuned to the energy behind words, not just the words themselves. They can sense hesitation, discomfort, resentment, even unspoken love. This creates a kind of emotional double vision. They hear what's said and feel what's not. And that can be both beautiful and heavy. Beautiful, because it allows for profound empathy. Heavy, because they are constantly navigating the tension between spoken reality and unspoken truth. INFJs also have an innate desire for emotional integrity. They cannot thrive in spaces where authenticity is lacking. To them, pretending is painful. Shallow conversation is draining. They seek to connect at the level of truth, beneath the social masks, beyond the filters. This makes them soulful companions and deeply loyal partners, but it also makes them vulnerable. Because the more you open your heart, the more can be hurt. And INFJs open their hearts in ways most people cannot even imagine. When INFJs are hurt, they rarely react in obvious or explosive ways. They retreat. They go inward. They carry the wound silently, turning it over like a stone in their hand, studying every edge and crack. They ask why it hurts, what it means, what it reveals. And while others may brush off emotional injuries as nothing, INFJs absorb them, feel them, and, when they are ready, heal from them. But their healing is never just for themselves. It's something they carry forward to help others. INFJs often turn their emotional scars into bridges of compassion. There is also a deep-rooted longing within most INFJs, a longing for emotional home, a place or person where they can simply be without needing to explain, edit, or perform. Because they spend so much time filtering their internal depth for the comfort of others, they crave spaces where their full emotional truth is not only allowed but welcomed. And when they find those rare souls who can hold their emotional complexity without judgment, they love with a devotion that is fierce, quiet, and lifelong. INFJs are often misunderstood because their outer calm does not reflect their inner intensity. They may appear composed during chaos, but inside they are feeling every detail with microscopic precision. And yet, they choose to carry that depth with grace. They don't ask the world to match their emotional frequency. They simply continue to live in their truth, even when it feels lonely. INFJs feel everything deeply because their hearts are tuned to the subtle music of existence. They are not here to skim the surface. They are here to dive deep, to explore, to understand, to love, and to awaken. If you're an INFJ craving clarity and a deeper connection with your true self, ensure to grab our free INFJ Clarity Kit. Inside, you'll find guided journal prompts, a workbook, and everything you need to reconnect with your true self. It's free and made just for you. Click the first link in the description of this video to get yours and start your clarity journey today.